Welcome to Front Row. Top news in the Virgin Islands is told only by JTV, making the headlines today. Auditor General Sonia Webster stands in defense of the execution of her duties in investigating and compiling a report on contracts awarded to Easy Shipping Limited. Lisa Penn-Letsom's academic prophecy on women in Virgin Islands politics, and in observing International Women's Day 2023, Gloria George Foy issues a challenge. We have the details of these and more when we return.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Everyone looks to the future, but no one truly knows what the future holds.
The number of people under the age of 20 with type 2 diabetes could increase by 49% by 2050. Let it be known that we all have a 30% chance of developing hypertension.
Globally, more than 300 million people of all ages suffer from depression.
More than 60,000 young adults aged 20 to 39 are diagnosed with cancer each year. Obesity leads to problems such as stroke, heart disease, and kidney failure.
No matter your race, age, or color, we are all at risk.
These diseases can be managed or prevented if caught early.
But with the right medicine and the right doctors to keep us on a path to live a robust and healthy life,
we will live well.
There are many ways to enjoy life, like so many ways to count on Popular.
Plug into Digicel Plus and get even more entertainment with Disney Plus included. The best of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic all in one place. Whenever you want, plug into Plus to enjoy Disney Plus and much more with a home fiber bundle. Sign up today. Digicel Plus.
Welcome back for the news in details. Debating the report, which was tabled in the House of Assembly recently on the audit of the Easy Shipping Limited contracts penned with then Premier Andrew A. Foy, legislators had pointed fingers at the author of the report, alleging a number of shortfalls in the report. One such critique came from Leader of the Opposition and the District 3 Representative, Honorable Julian Fraser.
Where is the child well side of this report? Isn't that supposed to be public too? Isn't that supposed to make the report balanced? I think, Madam Speaker, that we should make laws that determine what is fair. What is fair, Madam Speaker, is when you write a report, it should be balanced. First, it should be truthful, and second, it should be balanced. I think that the Premier or any other minister who's bringing a report here from the Auditor General should have the right to say, I'm not bringing it because something isn't right. I need more information. And another thing too, that's why the Public Accounts Committee could be useful. But then how could the Public Accounts Committee could be useful in an instance like this when that same Public Accounts Committee has in it, through the standing orders, that the Auditor General is the advisor to the Public Accounts Committee? How do you advise a committee who's investigating a report that you see that you wrote, that you advise in a committee?
Now, in her defense, Auditor General Ms. Sonia Webster explained that the role of the Auditor General is to review government spendings and related activities and report the findings to the public. This, she said, includes auditing government projects and programs in order to assess whether value for money was achieved in their execution. She explained that the international public sector audit standards for performance audits require that the auditor obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence in order to establish audit findings, reach conclusions, and issue recommendations. According to Webster, there are several methods to achieve this, and the auditor must determine the most efficient processes and reliable sources in evidence gathering, and she's confident that was done. Webster has established that during the investigation, it became very clear that there might be illicit implications arising from the transactions that occurred, and she stated clearly, quote, "Our policies in such cases is to progress the matter to the stage where it can be sent to other agencies for further investigations, as pursuing potential criminality with entities outside the public service is not within the remit of her office." In her March 3, 2023 statement, Webster said, quote, "Notwithstanding the preponderance of the evidence regarding the use of the barges was such that it would be negligent of me not to bring this to the attention of the public, which is ultimately footing the bill for this expenditure," end quote. She added, quote, "I am satisfied that the audit process for this investigation was thorough and the conclusions drawn are sound. Based on the findings, I have recommended that the matter be referred to the Director of Public Prosecution and Police for assessment and for the action," end quote. Webster's statement is substantiated by His Excellency the Governor, John J. Rankin.
The Auditor General found that although the COVID-19 crisis put the BVI government under considerable pressure to protect BVI's borders, there was no evidence presented to support statements regarding the effectiveness of the barges. The unsolicited proposal was rejected by the Commissioner of Police, who advised that the government was achieving the same results offered in the proposal virtually free of cost. Indeed, the data examined by the Auditor General showed an increase in activity after the barges were launched, compared to a sharp decline during the period that HMS Medway was patrolling the territorial waters. The Auditor General also notes that during the period the barges were in use, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force conducted 2 major drug busts that were not detected by the barges. The cost to the public of the 3 associated contracts for the barges was $2.1 million in total. The Auditor General also found that payments of $700,000 were unearned and covered 2 months when the barges were not used. Indeed, the Auditor General requested but has not received any evidence that the platforms were used in the relevant period. The Commissioner of Customs, Mr. Wade Smith, in correspondence to the then Acting Financial Secretary, Mr. Jeremiah Frett, asserted that the same barges were used from September 2020 to January 2021. But in the same correspondence, Mr. Smith refused to sign the certificate on the payment voucher to confirm that the barges had been used during the period 23rd December to 22nd January. In short, these payments were authorised by the National Security Council and Cabinet on the basis of incorrect information provided by the former Premier. I have similarly forwarded the Easy Shipping report to the Attorney General's office for assessment of whether the government should pursue recovery of any amounts paid to Easy Shipping, and I have asked the DPP and the police to assess whether any offences were committed with respect to the engagement of the marine platforms.
Rankin was at the time addressing reporters at his March 3, 2023 press conference. Women in politics.
It's topical. Everyone is, you have various prophets saying who will make up the next government, and you have more than one prophet. I think I've counted 3 so far. So, in an eerie kind of way, I want to use the historical account of women in BVI politics to sort of do some prophesizing of my own.
Mrs. Elisa Peneletsam taking a group through a time capsule of women in BVI politics through an academic eye.
But it's going to be based on academic and not some other science that we cannot quite measure. And I'm going to show you how history is probably going to repeat itself, and as to why women are likely to be successful again. So Miss Millicent Mercer was the first person, the first female to run for politics in BVI in 1971. She was a novice running against a veteran politician, and of course she didn't succeed, but I want to read to you what she said. She said, "I decided to try because I agree that women must become involved for the good of all." Mercer went on to explain, "I feel that by stepping forward, it will encourage other women to show the necessary interest in the affairs of the territory. Men are not the only ones to lead and to work for progress. Women must also do their part." That was 1971. It was another 12 years before another woman would run. Patsy Lake and Eileen Parsons. 1983. Both novices again, and again, both unsuccessful. 1986, Patsy Lake and Eileen tried again, and they were joined by Malcia Hodge. Again, unsuccessful. 1990, we had Medita Wheatley and Ines Turnbull. And it was the same thing, again, unsuccessful. So from 1971 all the way up to 1990.
It was in the year 1995 that the first 2 women were elected to office.
1995, almost 1/4 of the 38 candidates were women, the highest number of women at that point. They all ran, interestingly, as independent, and 2 were successful: Eileen Parsons, Ethelyn Smith.
According to Penletsam, it was a change in law that resulted in the eventual election of women into the legislature.
As luck would have it, the answer lies in a change in law, but not a change in law as in a change in legislation, like you might be thinking. In 1991, the United Kingdom used its power to pass laws for the territory to abolish the death penalty. No consultation with overseas territories was held. It went across the board for overseas territories. According to this book, it was the unilateral abolition of the death penalty that acted as the catalyst for change. Government ministers petitioned the UK for constitutional review with a view to seeking greater autonomy for the territory. The Constitutional Review Commissioners were appointed in 1993 and they reported in 1994. At that time, the Constitutional Review wasn't like it has been for the last two reviews. They were largely driven by the United Kingdom, and there was only, of the three commissioners, only one was local. So without any delay, the main recommendation was to implement the at-large system, which had already been on the books but never used. That recommendation was put swiftly into place. So the timeline, the commission was appointed in 1993, reported in 1994, and you see that it was in place for the 1995 general election. And that is when you had your first two successful female candidates, not one, but two.
Penletsam was at the time a guest speaker at the Kaleidoscope International's 5th Annual Women's Day event promoted by Gloria George Foy and held on the island of Virgin Gorda with a full house at Fisher's Cove. Penletsam referenced the book titled From the Fields to the Legislature, A History of Women in the Virgin Islands, authored by Eugenia O'Neill.
So Nina O'Neill in her book says at least one observer saw that the woman's win, they saw that the woman's win as a sign that, quote, the territory is maturing politically. With the last few remaining years in this century, BVI voters have signaled their readiness at last for a change from the male bastion that had previously characterized the legislature. That's progress, so says the Beacon editorial. The rest is history. Women have succeeded. You mentioned Dolores Christopher, and there have been others, of course, coming right up to the current day. So a lot of the other things noted in the book are actually now no longer true, no longer hold true.
And on the end of prophecies.
So with all the prophesizing, and so that's swirling around, history itself might hold a prophecy as well.
Among those present at the event were a wide range of persons, male and female, both youth and adults. All eyes on women.
The difference a woman makes in another woman's life. We talk about being equal with the men, but our strength comes from another woman.
March 8th observed as International Women's Day.
And most of the time, it's another woman that breaks us down. So unfortunate, but that is how it happens.
Gloria George Foy, a woman in sports.
Being involved with the BVI Football Association, I have witnessed a lot of it. I've felt a lot of it because men, they dominate the sport. We want to get in there. We want to get, not just because we want to get a piece of the pie, but we have a difference to make. We have something to accomplish. We have a lot of young women who are involved in the sport, but it takes another woman to really get that out of them. Not a male coach. I'm not saying they're not capable, but personally I feel, we as women need to learn to complement each other. Stop seeing each other as a competition, because we are not. We can imagine you can climb a hill on your own. Another woman can do the same. But if we were to come together, not only will we be able to climb that mountain, we'll be able to move it for the generation behind. But we have to be able to embrace that oneness, to see each other as being able of moving together.
In the shortcomings of some women in dealing with their women folk, it is not escaping the eyes of the younger generations.
Okay, and the young people, they see us, the way we watch each other, the way you put your hand behind your mouth, and they see it, and the message that we are telling them is it's okay to do it, but it's not, because when we do that, we're not building each other up.
Annually, George Foy, in collaboration with the management of Fisher's Cove, hosts Kaleidoscope International Annual Women's Day event. It was at the March 2023 edition when she pointed to a number of gray areas for women in sports.
You expect us as women to do certain things, to complete certain goals, to accomplish them, but then do you give us the tools? Do we get the resources to do so? You have, on the field, we have the male and the female footballers, and they tend to do the same thing with each of them, but you can't do that. Male footballers do not have their monthly menstrual, no. So of course you have to have a woman, because a male coach now won't be able to say, well, you take it easy this week, He'll tell you, go there, man, it helps with you. The exercise is good for you, and he has no idea what he's talking about. But you put a female coach now, she would tend to rub your back and say, listen, take a little rest today and come back tomorrow. You may feel a little better. So it leaves giving us what we really need to accomplish those goals. The thing that going on the field in the afternoon with the players, as a coach, I stand in the background because I feel the men feel like, you come in to take over. I'm not coming to take over. I'm just coming to deal with the women who are here. But the thing that is most painful, that in that office sits a woman who's pushing the papers that's supposed to say, listen, what you do in the afternoon is worth $10 an hour. But then you don't get that support. You get a woman who's saying, we don't need any more coaches. You have 20 young ladies over there in the afternoon, and you have a woman who's quite comfortable and satisfied with putting a man to coach them instead of a capable, certified, qualified woman who can get the job done. That is part of giving those young ladies the resource that they need, because another woman is another woman's resource, giving them that resource that they need to accomplish their goals. We have, gosh, I could talk all night about this, but I won't. We have a women's softball team competing now in St. John. The team is all women, of course, because the competition is women. Is their coach a female also? No, the coach is not a female. They have their entire coaching management team is all male. So you want to tell me here in the BVI we do not have the resources necessary for these women, for that softball team, that female softball team to accomplish their goal? I think we do. I believe we do. I know we do. Okay, so that is all we want. Give all women the resources that they need. You know, we respect you, but we need you to embrace us a bit.
She challenged women that they can get the respect they deserve by first embracing each other as women.
Build each other up, okay? We want to accomplish the same goals, but it takes different things to accomplish these goals. We need to realize that, yes, we are one. Each of us has a story. Your story may be a little different to my story, or very much different to my story, but at the end of the day, each of us have goals that we want to accomplish. So obviously the things that you need to accomplish your goals and the things that I need are so much different. Okay, we need women to embrace that oneness with us.
Ms. Gloria Jahphix recently led the charge for the territory's first women's football festival, impacting the lives of approximately 100 females. That has brought us down to the end of this edition of Front Row. Remember, you can follow us as well on Facebook at JTV Channel 55 and on YouTube at Jahphix Television-JTV. I'm Kathy Richards. Thank you so much for joining us.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Everyone looks to the future, but no one truly knows what the future holds.
The number of people under the age of 20 with type 2 diabetes could increase by 49% by 2050. Let it be known that we all have a 30% chance of developing hypertension.
Globally, more than 300 million people of all ages suffer from depression.
More than 60,000 young adults aged 20 to 39 are diagnosed with cancer each year. Obesity leads to problems such as stroke, heart disease, and kidney failure.
No matter your race, age, or color, we are all at risk.
These diseases can be managed or prevented if caught early.
But with the right medicine and the right doctors to keep us on a path to live a robust and healthy life,
we will live well.
There are many ways to enjoy life, like so many ways to count on Popular.
Plug into Digicel Plus and get even more entertainment with Disney Plus included. The best of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic all in one place. Whenever you want, plug into Plus to enjoy Disney Plus and much more with a home fiber bundle. Sign up today. Digicel Plus.